Coming to you live from the cradle of motherfucking civilization. It's time for Destiny Down Under.
Welcome to the 159th episode of the Destiny Down Under podcast. I am Log Power Slave, and as always, I'm joined by none other than Boring Lawmaster and Tarkov wannabe Mylan Games, or Quantum Melon, or whatever fucking name he's going under this week. But more importantly, we've got two excellent individuals here to help us get through the, not tumultuous news week this week whatsoever. Tamsin and Anamana, welcome to the show. G'day, guys. How you going?
Cheers.
Hello.
Hey.
Good.
That was it.
I feel like I'm gonna stuff up Anamana every time because I look at it and I'm like that's A's and M's and N's and A's and I was gonna say it wrong. But
I'm pretty sure I didn't say his name right.
Anna's fine.
Anamana. Anamana man.
Anna, yeah. I mean, yeah. You're Australian. It needs to be abbreviated into one or two syllables at the absolute most. So that's why everyone here, his name is Bruce or Troy. It's too hard to fucking have any more syllables than that.
How's your week been, Anamana? I got it.
You got it.
It didn't sound very natural, but
it's been not too bad. Like the weather's been up and down in Melbourne, but just working on videos, playing not too much of Destiny. The only time I've been playing.
You've been putting out some content on the old YouTubes, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What have you been focusing on?
I usually go for like beginner's guides and also like whatever the new stuff coming out is, but I'm slowly starting to shift towards like talking about the design of Destiny and especially around the new player experience and stuff like that. So
yeah, because your beginner guides did really well, right?
Yeah, I think I haven't checked in a while, but last time I checked, it's sitting at about 200,000 views.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah. Is that your highest viewed video?
Are you trying to? Is this a subtle Mylan Games flex? Like, is that what's happening here?
No.
I can never tell.
I'm not being a dick about it. No, I'm actually generally
my highest is 43 views, so shove it.
Yeah, you fucking stay in your box log. You wouldn't fucking know, cunt.
I was trying to think because the EDZ, when that bug was around, that video just like blew up, and I was like, is that bigger than my actual beginner's guide? But I don't think it is.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, well, we couldn't actually go to the obelisk at all, and everyone was freaking out. It's like, calm down, just wait, be patient.
Yeah, I just think it's so cool when you've been like putting content out on YouTube for a long time, and then something like takes off. You're like, fuck, finally, it starts to work, and it sort of really puts a spring in your step to keep putting content out and keep improving on the platform. So well done.
Yeah,
that's really
and
cool.
trying to actually maintain that, like stay with the topics that people actually want to listen to, not just the things that you think.
Yeah. Like I think people think that that's the beginning, is when you get something taken off, and then now you like keep trying to snowball it into something more and something better, and to keep that audience like constantly entertained. So yeah, it's cool.
Yep, absolutely.
Good stuff. Well, we might dive into a little bit more about what Anna's about.
I only got after this. What Tamsin's week's
You
been
don't care
like?
about my week?
That's where I was going. Oh my god!
Well, it sounded like
you're like next.
No. Anyway,
like
how's
this.
your week been? Fuck yous, all of yous.
No, my week's good. I think I started a bit of a debacle on Twitter for multiple reasons. I did ask everyone whether you shampoo your hair once or twice, and a lot of people disagree with me, but I've had 3 out of 3 people tell me that washing their hair twice, shampooing their hair twice, their life has changed. And that's all I was trying to achieve. And then Twitter.
Hold on. Even I know as a male, like that's the rule, is it not?
No, I did a poll and it was like 90-something% shampoo once. And I was like, the point is, it's not if it's good or bad. The point is it's life-changing if you try it. 3 people tried it and it changed their life, and they confirmed. So
you know,
So
what?
what,
I'll try it later, and if I don't turn up on stream
You can
tonight
at me
looking
and-
like fucking Fabio, just with flowing glorious hair, you're going to hear about it.
I mean, Vinny will probably really enjoy that. But yeah, I did that. Twitter did a good job at cropping one of my photos, which you guys thankfully retweeted.
Yeah, that was.
I was like, really,
look,
guys, you got to retweet that.
It was eye catching. We can say that. I was just minding my own business, sitting on the lounge. Like, Jesus Christ, this escalated quickly. But that's the game, right? Twitter is a son of a bitch with things like that.
I don't know how they do that, to be completely honest. And I just started the first week of my 8-week challenge at my F45 gym. So there's probably a few people around Australia doing the F45 challenge. So I'd love to know.
That stuff's like, whoever fucking came up with that's making a shit ton of money right now with that.
Yeah.
F45. Like, they just commercialized gym memberships in the best possible way. 45 minutes in and out. Little semi-personalized, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, $55 a week is what it is.
That's pretty expensive too, what it is.
Yeah. But
and like, explain to the audience like what it is, because some people might not know if they're not.
So it's high intensive interval training, from my understanding, is what they classify the type of training. It goes for 45 minutes. They have the same classes around the world. So I'm pretty sure it's around the world. So every Monday, everyone does the same class, essentially. At different times, and it goes cardio strength, maybe cardio, and then like a hybrid for your sad days, like your Saturday morning boot camps and stuff like that. So I really like
stations, right? You have like you go in there and you just rotate through all the stations of doing whatever.
Yeah, so they change it up, but like 30 seconds on, 20 seconds off, and then you do the same set 3 times, and you move to the next one, and then the next one, and then it's really good because I like it because it's all about teamwork, and it's all about it's all mental, because like, sounds like I'm crazy. Because you're looking up at a screen, it's got your like countdown timer.
Yeah, like it's 20 seconds. You can like work hard for.
Yeah, you've got like little dials, how long, like how far of the workout you've gone through. There's no mirrors, so it's all about like you and your teammates. So you always got someone next to you training with you. It's just, there's a lot of good things I like about it. And they cycle the 8-week challenges, so they do like an 8-week challenge and then a 4-week plus maintenance phase, and then an 8-week challenge. So it's all about like continuous, and each gym does it slightly different, whether they're owned by the company or the franchise. But I joined one, I had to leave because I lost my job, and honestly nothing could fill the void until I found a new one, so pretty happy.
There you go.
Yeah, that was
that's
my
inspiring.
week.
I feel fucking tired just hearing about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I did have a 30-minute nap. I'm not gonna lie.
What have you done, Log, this week to improve your life, huh?
To improve my life.
Everyone's fucking kicking goals. We got like 200k views on videos. We got F45. What have you been doing, Log?
I bought a bottle of Captain Morgan.
Life changing.
Yeah, it was on special. I was pretty happy with it. It was what I felt like buying as well. So good times. But no, I have been productive this week. I put out a little stream compilation of just what I did the other night, and just basically dribbling shit with the boys, talking garbage and blasting through content, as is the stream. But it's good. It's good. Just going to try and do that once a week, and see what happens. What about you? What have you been up to, coding club boy?
So I'm I feel like this has been like the saga for the last 4 years. I'm coming close to the end of my PhD. I set up a regional coding club, and I'm just doing some handover with the mentors that we've recruited. They're all volunteers, and I went down there and gave some documents, did some education, and started to set them up to be independent of the university, but still associated with us. So hopefully they go well, but one more weekend of that. So I was at that this morning. It's a lot. It's like an hour and a half drive there. So it's about 3 hours of driving, a couple hours of a meeting, or an hour of a meeting. So had that this morning. And then did I tell you my article didn't get submitted the first time around?
Yeah.
Was that on stream?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
we went over the crankiness. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got a bit cranky about it. Yeah, so I've resubmitted. I've resubmitted to another journal article now, and then we're just don't get me started again. We're just playing the political game now. It's like, rather than put my name on like the corresponding author, we put like my almost said my professor's name. We would just put Professor whoever, right? Because then whoever reads my article isn't such a dick when they fucking give feedback. If I don't like it, they'll actually spend time giving feedback rather than like reading my plebeian name and not having a doctor in front of it. They'll be like, oh, we have to give feedback. This is a professor. We better actually give proper feedback if we're going to reject this article. So we're just playing that game at the moment.
That sounds horrible, to be honest.
It really does.
Yeah. Especially when you're like basically 3 years of data and they're just like, literally, if we did translate it to Australian, it was nah. That was the amount of feedback we got.
I mean, to be honest, if I was assessing things like that and someone sent me a doctorate application or whatever it is with the name Mylan Games on it, I'd probably cross it out too. Oh, no, that's good.
That's it. I've been doing the Taki stuff. I've got a video in the works for not tomorrow, for Sunday, and hit 1,000 subscribers on my Taki channels, which is cool. So yeah,
making inroads, man.
Cruising along.
It's all happening.
Are you wanting to stay with Tarkov, or you wanting? Because I know you were talking about, was it last week, branching out to play different games like Destiny. Your Mylan Games is lore. Are you going to like look at doing different games as well? But like Tarkov's just like the flavor of the month.
Yeah, that's sort of the plan is like Mylan Games formula is very hard to apply to any other game unless they have a similar structure with storytelling and lore, which is possible. You know, I was always hoping Anthem was going to be there, and hopefully whatever Bungie produces, they sort of carry that kind of work behavior over to another franchise. And, you know, make books and do additional lore and stuff that fucking no one wants to read, but everyone wants to hear about. And then, you know, Mylan Games continues. But the Tarkov stuff is much more in tune with just me, and I'm trying to build a brand around my personality and making goofy shit and all that kind of stuff. So it's not so dependent on a franchise itself. So
and having fun.
Yeah, and having fun. And I'm just really enjoying Tarkov stuff at the moment. So that's what it's all about.
Nice.
It's good. Yeah. It's good.
I think I streamed 3-4 times this week.
I feel like you're always live, and you're always live when I'm at work, because I'm at work going fucking mongrels sitting at home playing video games, doing nothing with his life.
Playing video games.
All right. Well, what we might do, we might do a bit more of a thorough introduction to Anna and what he's about, and go over that. But then we'll dive into the news and all of the Destiny shit that's happened this week. So Anna, in your own words, man, can you just describe who and what you are to the people who may not have met you before?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I do a lot of beginners-based stuff. I feel like there's a lot of personalities on Twitch and YouTube that focus on the cutting-edge end game, the sweaty stuff, which is awesome. But I think also I try to go the other way around to help people get into the game and understand the game better. And especially with the whole new player experience stuff, there's a lot of vagueness with Destiny. I feel like Destiny 1 was very, very bare bones in terms of training the player on how to play the game. And when Destiny 2 came along, they kind of adopted that and they didn't really expand upon it. So it kind of leaves me open to make content around training players, how to access all the activities and stuff like that. And also, I guess, kind of give them the confidence to jump into stuff like raids, which took me a while to actually jump into. So that's like the main thing.
It's a great little area because you sort of look at Destiny and you would think, oh, there's not really a need for that. Because it's been around for so long, and then obviously you've proved that wrong. Like there's obviously an extreme need for that. It's sort of like exactly that. All the content creators don't focus on
I think it's
welcoming new players.
I think it's kind of like an evolution of like as a content creator, right? You want to talk about the things that you're doing, and you know, like, so for people who've been playing Destiny, and most of the big names in our community that have, you know, the YouTube make weapon reviews and stuff like that, have been doing it for forever. So their perspective is, you know, like they're in it every day and playing it. So they don't often consider how hard and intimidating Destiny can be to get into for someone who's literally just picking it up for the first time. And it it isn't something I've thought about until I started going through and seeing your videos pop up on my Steam of all places. So that's a good little feature. Yeah. But I think it's cool, man. So like, what's the best piece of feedback? Jeez, I can't talk today. What's the best piece of feedback you've received, sort of, out of someone finding your videos? What would you hang your hat on if you had to say the coolest thing that I've had someone say to me out of all of this is?
The main thing I've been getting recently is a lot of people think that, I mean, not as a bad thing, like, oh, they think this. They tend to say that I explain stuff well. in explaining how like the mechanics work and how they can get it started and stuff like that. So, and I hope that at least I'm approachable and be able to ask those questions. Like when I'm streaming, I'm always like, if you've got any questions, like don't apologize for asking them because you want to know. I don't want to turn people away because I don't want them to make them feel like an idiot kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one thing that the Destiny community has always done pretty well. Like there's always been the Jay Snipertons and stuff doing the rounds that are just basically there helping people learn the raids and helping people through the raids for their first time and giving them the confidence to do so. But it's cool that it's sort of popping up on YouTube now as well. I mean, I'm sure that there's other people that have done it, but you know, we're completely biased and you're Australian. So as far as we're concerned, you're the best at it and always will be. So
Thank you.
Well, that's good, man. It's but I mean, as we've said over the last few weeks, what we're trying to do with the DDU now is be able to bring in people like Tamsin and Anna and sort of use their perspective to sort of diversify the show a little bit. So, absolutely an important one going forward, I think, given that Destiny is a free-to-play game, is a hell of a lot easier to pick up and play now than it has been in the past. So.
Yeah, and you want to convert those people who like play the free to play to get Shadowkeep, you know, and keep buying the seasons to, you know, just see why we play it all day, every day, and why we have for the past however long, you know.
The hardest part I find, the biggest question I get, especially in that beginner's guide, is what do I focus on? And like there's for me, there's like a few different buckets where new players are tripping up, and I think especially with the start of the game, if any of you have tried new light, like the whole fresh character, regardless of where you are in the game, is completely changed now. It doesn't just dump you straight into the story. You need to go out of your way to go over to Amanda Holiday, where it doesn't point out till you like 800 or 900 light to pick up your breadcrumb crest for the campaign. So a lot of people might be turned away from being able to access the campaigns. And then there's introduction quests at the moment, which don't really, like, they introduce you to where all the activities are, and you slowly do a bounty and then you participate in the activity. But a lot of people tend to gloss over those introduction quests. So a lot of the game is basically locked off to them because they are under the impression that they understand how an FPS game works and they don't need to do that stuff. So there's a few rough edges at the moment. And I'm hoping they improve on those because
I mean, we see that all the time, right? With like some quests don't feel very streamlined, or like they'll just be it's almost like through Q&A they missed a waypoint or something.
Yep.
Or they missed just a little bit that sort of guide you in a direction you need to go, or there's like certain levels of guidance. Like sometimes you'll get told exactly where to go and exactly what to do, and other times you won't. And I think for a Destiny player, we know now that that's like an indication, like, we're not going to tell you, you got to go work it out. And then, you know, you'll see a YouTube video going, how to complete this quest. These are all the things you do, right? But as a new player, you'd be like, what the fuck's happening? Like, before you were giving me waypoints and telling me what planet to go to, and now it just says, find the fallen transponder. I don't fucking know where to go. Like, I think that can be really confusing for new players, and not very obvious, I guess.
So can I ask, because maybe I'm a bit more naive than I should be, do they still have like the symbols showing the different storylines, like Warmind, Curse of Osiris, the Red War and stuff like that? Because that's how I would explain it to people. I said, look at your map and look for those red symbols, because the red symbol is this storyline, and then you follow it around the different planets and stuff like that. I mean, I think in the UI, when you go to the planets, you know, you used to be able to press a button and it would just have a little slider that would show you the main storyline and where to go next. I don't know if that's still there anymore, but I kind of miss that there, because it did help you progress through the storyline if you got lost a little bit. And so when people come into my stream now and ask me, you know, where do I start? I usually say start with the storyline. I was like, there should be little symbols, you know, showing you each campaign and progress through them and enjoy the story. But the way you've explained it, maybe it's not Anamana the same anymore.
No, not anymore. I feel like a lot of those slider, I guess we'll call them slider things. We had one recently with the Saint 14 Imperium Foundation thing, which was really good. But it'd be like at the very minimal if they added go to the tower and visit Amanda Holiday. Otherwise, it doesn't show any of those story missions. You technically jump in the tower, and it feels like the focus Bungie has is go out and do activities. And the big problem is a lot of the introduction quests are based on your light level or your power level. So you can't access the Black Armory until like 870 or something like that off the top of my head. So there's all these bits and pieces where they've got I think when they were doing the Vidocs, when they were coming out with Shadowkeep, they wanted players to be able to jump in with their mates and be able to just participate without any barriers to entry. But they've still got a light level gating to be able to get into that activity, regardless of your equipment or whatever. So yeah, it feels like there's a lot of gates in place for new players, which kind of trip them up. And also, as Marlon was saying, I don't think like a failure as in the whole game is ruined kind of thing, but I feel like it's like a minor failure to make players have to go outside of the game to get information.
Well, you could lose people too,
And Maddie's made a career out of it, but
yeah. Well, so have I, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be had there, but I think it's one for another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I haven't gone back and done any. I mean, I'm telling a fib. I made a hunter and a warlock, but I played through the first mission until I could take them into the tower, and then I've not gone back through the storylines at all. So I might actually load it up and have a look and try and get my head around it.
Yeah, I feel like I need to delete a character and
it's
start
probably
again
a useful
or something.
perspective to have.
Yeah. You could even make a new account because a lot of it is account.
Is it different?
Based, account wide.
So if I delete a character, am I going to load and start baby fresh? That's going to be different to if I was to make a.
Absolutely. Or you can. I guess you don't have to make an account, but
maybe
just as long as you're not just as long as you're not transferring your equipment across, to make sure you do rush through those light levels.
Yeah.
The other side of it is as well is that planets are now unlocked based on experience, not based on story progression. So I think that's more of the new account thing. I think that's at account level. So once a character's gone through and unlocked everything, unless they've purchased DLC, which automatically unlocks the planet.
Yeah, at least that like restricts you to where you have to look. There's less planets you have to go to, but
it's one of those things. I reckon they could nearly rejig the entire leveling system and cut a lot of the fat out of it, and have it be like, I don't understand like power levels at all up to like the pinnacle stuff, really, because it makes no difference. It's sort of like it's a little bit harder or whatever, but it's an artificial gate. So I don't know. It just turns into a pain in the ass come on banner time. That's
so to shorten, it's basically you're making really good content on welcoming new players to Destiny and solving a direct need essentially for people trying to wonder what they should do. Main focus on YouTube, but you're also on Twitch, right?
Yeah, so I don't really tend to focus on the high end kind of content. I just do my thing and play with people. That's about it.
On Twitch.
Yeah. With our Destiny and stuff.
So new players can come check out your stream and ask questions and be like, how do I do this? What do I do here?
Exactly. Yep.
Awesome.
That's like my stream, but I'm the opposite, where I'm always asking people what the fuck I'm meant to be doing.
I don't know
would you like to go and help an imbecile? Go to this stream. All right, well, we might jump into the news because we've got a shitload. What?
I felt like that when we did the bushfire appeal, and I actually was playing Destiny rather than reading lore because obviously I feel comfortable reading. I'm like, people are going to watch me play Destiny.
I'm still angry at you about that because you're nowhere near as shit as you ought to be for someone who fucking hardly plays. All right, let's jump into the news. We've got a bit to get through, so rock and roll.
Okay.
All right, so probably the big news of the week, up until yesterday's TWAB, where the fucking apocalypse came, was the commencement of the rebuilding effort for the Empyrean Foundation. So you can now go in and complete a quest through Saint 14 and go and kill Inatem and unlock the full potential of the Tower Obelisk, where you can donate your fractaline to contribute to the rebuilding effort of the Empyrean Foundation. But given this is Destiny, it's not all that simple. So there's been a hell of a lot of thought and effort put into the most effective way to raise your fractaline stonks over the last couple of days. So I don't know, guys. How do you feel about that? The whole event just sort of kicking off from Reset this week. We've had. I don't know. I won't get into the implication of the fact that the meter is in the smack bang center of the fucking Crucible director and looks like the Trials bloody thing. But anyway,
I still haven't looked at that yet.
It pretty much is like the lighthouse.
Yeah, it's a lighthouse with a meter around it. And that's where we're at. But
are we not gonna talk about that? Well, or did you say?
We can talk about it. I mean, if you've got something you want to say about it.
Well, I mean, what else could it be? Is it just?
It's trials,
I mean, if it's not trials, it would be the biggest fucking rickroll.
It'll be
oh my god!
They're just slowly updating the art.
We just thought it was a pretty picture. You could put a dial around it. If it's not trials, it's going to be a fucking riot. So there's that.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I've found it relatively funny the metagame people are playing with raising Fractaline. Like you can basically choose to donate now, but if you don't donate, you can invest more or less what you do have and then up your stakes for next week so that you can donate more. And it's turned into this game of like min-maxing how much shit you can donate.
I don't understand this.
Doesn't matter.
I don't understand this investing. So what do you mean? Well, I don't understand that.
What you can do, you can donate your Fractaline, right? You can donate it to the Empyrean Foundation. You donate 5,000 Fractaline, you get the emblem.
That's the community goals that we're hitting each time, right?
Yeah, well, the thing with the community goals is that they're fucking enormous, right? Like they are.
But they'll get completed anyway.
1 billion Fractaline. So that was the most recent step is 1 billion Fractaline, but the thing people are doing now is, and it ties into kind of an XP grind as well, or a pretty significant shortcut with the bounties for the weapons like Perfect Paradox and whatnot. But you can go and basically, instead of donating your Fractaline, you can reinvest it into upgrading all of your what are they called? Sundials? Planetary.
Planet obelisks.
Yeah, obelisks. That's it.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, and then you'll get more back in return next week, and then you can do it again next week and get more back in return the following week, so that you're basically investing in the future and not just spending what you've got in your hand to get things over and done with. Now,
the multiplier increases every single week, from my understanding. So it's that's why everyone was like, put in more now, because the compounding effect will increase. I was going to ask, Log, do you know what is advised not to do with that quest line that you start off with?
Yeah, whatever you do, complete the quest line, but do not, when you load up the fucking sundial at the end, don't pick up the Fractaline. There's a gift of Fractaline there that I have nearly clicked on probably 30 times since completing the quest. Don't pick it up, because what it is, it's based on your overall level, and it'll update in real time. It doesn't wait for a reset or anything like that. So if you don't pick it up, you can raise the level of your attunement and end up getting more out of it to then dump more in next week. And
so Tuesday night, essentially everyone wants to put in every Fractaline they have to a planet obelisk and then pick that up, because obviously resets at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the morning for Queensland time.
Where did I read it? I'm trying to think. Maybe it was on Reddit, that the obelisks reset on Sundays as well. They're like a half weekly reset. So I'm wondering whether or not it's going to work that way for it or not.
Because it's the resonance power, like what you get at the end of that quest is like your reward for increasing your resonance power, essentially. So that you get, from my understanding, every reset.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like a weekly pickup, but is it? I don't know. I'm not sure that it is a weekly pickup, because that was a thing that like no one could give a real specific answer on whether it was a Sunday or whether it was a Tuesday night Australian time.
Can you please make a video on this?
I've already made like 3 videos on this.
Fuck, I'm not gonna watch them.
But like every time I make a new video, someone else comes out and goes, "Oh, actually, you should do this instead." And it's like, thanks for just invalidating the information I put out. But
that's the hard part with YouTube and stuff like that, because you put something out and then within like an hour something's broken and it's changed. And
well, that's the thing with a lot of the early guides that came out for like how to really increase your Fractaline stonks. Was that they didn't say not to pick up the first lot of Fractaline that you get for completing the quest. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't, like it's the one time that being an Australian is useful and getting on like fucking 8 hours after
wake up
everyone
in the
else.
Morning.
Because we kind of learn that sort of shit through the day and go, oh, okay. And get to bask in the benefits of everyone else's mistakes.
I was up at 4 a.m. and messed up.
Oh no, sadness.
But what I was going to say is, everyone who's freaking out, they don't worry. Like if you've picked up your Fractaline, it's not the end of the world. Like this whole event is just like, it's going to get completed. in the end. Like it's all it is to make sure you have more fracture line to contribute. As long as you contribute 5,000, I think, to the Tower Obelisk, you'll get And that's
what if like we don't make the final goal and then Bungie like, nah, sorry, we're just not bringing trials back now. Ever.
No trials.
You know, we dangled the carrot. You didn't try hard enough. Never again.
We need to, as a community, commit to like not completing one of the community events just to see what Bungie do.
Just turn up
What
and go.
if we
no,
don't?
no, we're
When
not
Bungie
doing.
comes
no.
out next week, these 10 people got fired. Sorry.
Hey, I just went on. Why did no one tell me there's a new narrative on Bungie website?
Because you're a law dude.
Isn't that
It's
your
your
job?
I expected it to be the one part of all of this that you were across. Sorry, Matt.
Well, I haven't fucking read it. Just excuse me for a second. You guys keep talking.
I'm pretty sure that the fractal line that comes out each week, like the one you're telling not to claim right now, that'll be the reoccurring thing each week until it wraps up.
Yeah, so it's basically like a weekly dump based on your level.
Yeah. Also, as well, there's the glimmer one you can pick up as well that gives you a resonance power like rank up like without having to donate. It's like 20,000 glimmer and 10 legendary shards.
Yeah. So that's what a lot of the content creators are doing at the moment is they're doing, what are they doing? A heap of bounties and stuff to get glimmer and then, or spending materials to get glimmer. And then they're using their glimmer to buy these 100 extra fracture line.
Yep.
Fractal line. Oh my gosh, just made up another word.
Yeah, you've said fractal line different every fucking time.
I think we need to go to Bungie about them putting problematic words. You know, like everyone's fine with
How did they even come up with that word?
fucking Zivu Arath. Everyone can agree on that, but fractaline or fractaline, oh my god.
Do you reckon
Is there no dialogue at all? Is there no voice dialogue that mentions fractaline?
No.
Yeah, right.
It's just Kaber and Kabir all over again.
This is the Kabir Kabar Kaber all over again.
And so,
voice line.
just going back, when you have to start putting your fractal line into the Tower Obelisk, is it the 14th or the 28th? Trying to remember.
It's 3 weeks from the final end of the season, so
Yeah,
otherwise you'll be shooting yourself in the foot if you don't start banking it. Then the
You'll
problem
be
is
seeing all the Twitch streamers' headings being like deposit into Tower Obelisk. Like, that's all you-
you'll know. Just stay tuned to social media. The thing that is going to suck though is that it doesn't really deposit any quicker the more you get. So there will be people that will be sitting there for fucking hours just dumping fractaline in at the end of this. So I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that's some kind of oversight because it seems fucking really, really punishing. But the other thing that came out with it was the I think it's the final Sundial encounter, the Innertam, the combined might of the sisters that are running through time, the Scion sisters. What did you guys think of the fight? I blasted through it. I thought it was pretty good.
I died a lot.
I loved it.
It's pretty rough. We did it legendary straight off the bat, and
really?
Yeah, I got hard carried by a few of the boys. I'm not going to lie.
Same.
I
was very distracted.
Yeah. But a good fight, and I think like after last season, where sort of the undying mind at the end of the season that it all sort of geared towards was a bit underwhelming, and I think people went in a little bit guarded as to what this might have been and were pleasantly surprised. So I hope that that's a trend that continues, that we can sort of get to the back end of the season and get a pleasant surprise out of the content that we're more familiar with and go on.
I was kind of hoping that, remember that strike back in D1 where you had the different coloured scions and then you would get
the
that?
flares, yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping we were going to get
the
something
what?
like that.
Sorry?
Dust Palace.
Dust Palace.
What did
the
you
flares,
call it?
the mind flares or whatever the fuck they are.
The
flares.
I don't even know what they were. I can't remember how I explained my character.
Flares.
Flares. A flare's like a thing that you fucking.
It's called flares.
You sign. No, it's flare. It's flare, not flare. Flare's what you
It's
fucking.
It's spelled like flare, but it's pronounced flare.
Ready Flare 1.
I'm getting cranky. I'm trying not to get cranky. All right, well, changing the subject entirely. The other thing that we've seen announced.
Have I become sloth? Just sitting here silently and waiting for someone like, wait, but excuse me. It's
excuse me, pal.
like that.
Crimson Days. Crimson Days is back again, so we can celebrate love and all of that bullshit. So that kicks off at Reset next week, and Crimson Doubles comes with it. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. I like doubles. I grew up on doubles in Halo because I had a shit internet connection and it was all I could get to work. So Shax is the vendor. You can buy stuff from him with your candy hearts yet again. Rewards from previous years will be available alongside the new offering. So if the stuff that you didn't get last run around, you can definitely pick that up again. And probably most importantly, there is a fucking tandem sparrow that you can get.
Yeah.
I'm gonna load that up right now because I think it's important that everyone basks in the glory of this tandem. Look at this shit. Look at this. It's nuts. It's got like a little heart in the middle of it, and it's not very very tough looking, but I guess I'm willing to give that away for the sake of being able to ride around with probably Keg because he's my life partner.
So how does that work?
Isn't it like not a tandem, and like when you're side by side, it'll like show the flourish of the wings and the heart in the middle? Is that how it works?
I've got no idea. I just assumed it was tandem because they look like they look together.
And who gets the drive?
I think when you're close to each other, it will do something. Whether it magnetizes you towards each other, I don't know. But
here's another picture with them separated. So maybe it's just when you go next to each other.
Yeah, that'd be tandemonium.
Oh, wow. Written apology for that on my desk Monday morning. Thank you very much. So we'll quickly have a look through the rest of the shit that's on offer. There's a couple of sparrows.
Double XP as well.
That is a tandem sparrow. Look at that. Look at that. That looks like a tandem sparrow. So it's double XP. You get in there
what
and
if
get
you
that.
don't have a friend, though? That would be so awkward. Like you're just driving around.
People are riding around with no one on.
Just forever alone.
That will be
the
me.
Vow's back. It's all there. There's a few snazzy emotes and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I think I'm kind of looking forward to it. I've always liked doubles, so I think that's something to look forward to.
I am excited for the double XP because I did not sit there and bake all my cookies to take advantage. So I'm currently at 150 season. I think you have to get to 200 for the triumph for the artifact to get to level 20.
I've given up on
so,
that. Holy shit.
Definitely going to take advantage of playing some Crucible.
It
Weekly and daily bounties.
It's not only going to be Crucible though, right? Because last year you could go doubles on a Nightfall and also strikes, so you could do bounties if you don't like Crucible.
It says spin the deal. Daily and weekly bounties will offer double XP. Bright Dust will also be rewarded when completing your weekly bounty.
Cool.
Right.
Cool.
Hey, did you see the stuff about Shax and Marasov on Twitter?
I tried to avoid that on Twitter. I think
I missed that.
As a heterosexual white man, I'm just staying the fuck out of all of that sort of stuff. I saw that there was some unappreciative stuff on there, and I'm not getting into it. But it was pretty cool.
Look, I didn't see everything, but I think there was some criticism because Marasov has multiple partners in the Destiny universe, specifically another female named Sure, who's the dungeon's based on. Essentially, it's just a statue in the dungeon. And they chose, I guess, to show Shax and Marasov in the little Crimson Day video because probably most people, to be honest, most people know about that because
everyone knows about the helmet stayed on. Yeah,
quote. And to be honest, like he was way more of just a booty call compared to who she actually loved, which was Cheryl. So maybe that was a criticism, but I'm pretty sure some of the writers responded like, look, if you actually read the lore, Destiny is a very diverse, I guess, game. There are a lot of characters who are gay or bisexual or I don't know. Like there is a lot of acceptability in Destiny universe, and I think they take it pretty seriously. So anyone who was criticizing the little tiny bit of like Crimson Days, I thought was probably taking it a bit too far. Like for a game, Destiny has a lot of diversity in it. So
Yeah, that, and I don't think that there's really any relationships in Destiny that are in your face to that extent either. Like, I think every character is sort of individually their character, whether they're that's sort of like that's just part of coloring the character, right? So I don't get me wrong, I can understand why people feel upset or whatever, but at the same time, I think that the tone it was intended was definitely frivolous.
Yeah,
and,
it was definitely
everyone
meant to
was
be a
just
fun thing.
Yeah. So it kind of yeah.
And and also we don't know what Shaw looks like, and she has no character model apart from the statue. So
and is also dead. So I think having like Mara there with a dead body would have been a bit weird. Just
a few
saying.
more questions.
Yeah, here's Mara with a dead body. Cool.
They could always dig up the skeleton from Vault of Glass. Use that.
Yeah, let's leave that alone.
Yeah, they should have just put those two skeletons fucking holding hands or whatever they are. Like, a love heart between them.
Their bones just making a love heart.
Yeah, a little
Romantic.
two skeletons doing the new emote. But the other thing that came in the TWAB, and it was relatively contentious and understandably so, was the changes coming to swords. So we'll read through them now as they're going to basically affect swords in game, but then we'll talk about the implications of them after that, because for the speedrunning community, it's been a bit of a shot to the guts, and there's quite a few people that are understandably upset. So swords will now have their own energy reserve that recharges naturally on its own and is not to be confused with ammo capacity. This energy will overtake your melee slot while you're wielding a sword and is spent on various actions. Guarding. Guarding now uses sword energy instead of consuming ammo. Different guards have different amount of consumption, different consumption rates, damage resistance, and behaviors. So be sure to experiment, find a guard that you like. You'll need at least one ammo to be able to guard. So there's sort of like a base.
So you need one ammo, but it consumes your melee.
So you can't have a completely empty sword, but it consumes the sword energy that is your melee rather than the ammo itself.
And it's obviously not like single use consumption of your melee, right? Like it must be.
I think they said
I reckon it'll be like a meter. I reckon it'll be sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
right.
Light attacks, grounded light attacks for all swords will now loop for infinite combos, and all swords can cleave from the top. So it kind of, for me...
Wait, what?
Light attacks.
It's confusing.
You can just boom, 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 boom.
Light attacks can be infinite.
Yeah, they loop together for basically an infinite combo. So you can just tap light and it'll all loop together and it'll be relatively quick.
An infinite combo, but depending on how much ammo you have, right?
Energy.
Well, it'd be energy.
They don't use...
The ammo stuff is a bit confusing, especially that one ammo bit.
It's one of those things where I wish that they sort of would accompany this sort of thing with the video and say, this is kind of the way it works, because reading it on paper and then I'm a pretty dumb bloke, so it's challenging to begin with, but to then try and figure out how that'd actually play, especially when it's something that's as contentious as, as it is for some people, I think that they could have done a bit of a better job in sort of highlighting this. Even if it was just a 10-second clip that showed all of the different mechanics and how they had affected your ammo or whatever, I think it'd be great. So moving on, heavy attacks. They now consume sword energy. While you are always able to perform a heavy attack, the attack is stronger if you have full energy and weaker if you don't. So there's a bit of a juggling act there in that maybe you could open with a heavy attack and then dip into lights. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this sort of works in combo mechanics. But as I mentioned, the sort of underwritten thing that came out after this when they were talking about sword changes, I think it was Chevy asked, was it Chevy or was it Modern? It was Modern, maybe. One of the two. Both good guys. Asked damage whether or not this would affect World Line Zero, which is pretty widely used in the speedrunning community to whip through with its teleporting stuff. So, and unfortunately, it seems that that no longer will function that way. So, a pretty big shot to the gut. And I'm going to go out on a whim and say that I think it's probably because if they didn't change the way that it worked, it would be absolutely broken and batshit in every part of the thing, in every part of the game.
Someone was saying the other side of it is that they have to design their encounters around that mechanic as well then, if they keep it.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, you can't really have a timed encounter. You can't have an encounter where it says you've got to make your way across this room in this time, because you could literally just go bunk and fucking warp across it in a third of the time it would normally take someone running. So I can understand why they're doing it and why they feel the need to change it. But the implication of it being that, it's kind of something that's been around for 2 years now that has gone pretty much unchanged for the whole time, and people have become to rely on it for part of the community. Like, it's definitely a factor in any incredibly quick run of anything. So, pretty disappointing for those guys that have been, in the speedrunning communities. I know a few people who are involved in it. Fami's probably, I've had a fair chat to him and a fair chat to Terra about it. And I think their issue more than anything is just that it feels like that it wasn't even considered, that it wasn't even really referenced in the release of this information in the TWAB. It was left to damage on Twitter to sort of clear up. And
I think that was a big problem, was the way the information was conveyed. They were upset with that. The thing. But I think the other thing is, like, it's not like people go, oh, the speedrunning community is such a small community. Well, by extension, it's the PvE community, if you know what I mean. Like, you talk about Fami and Glad and all that, but I don't look at them as the speedrunning community. I look at them as the PvE community, and they're like the leaders and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think I said the other day on Twitter, in the end, like, people play Destiny for different reasons. And they're allowed to be upset if that reason is taken away from them, and then the biggest thing is don't go harassing game developers, because that's not what this community is about, like, everyone's allowed to have their opinions, everyone's allowed to be, angry or upset. It's just about the way you convey that message and not personally attacking people, because it's not a one person decision,
I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing that's super prevalent right now in Destiny. And that was kind of why, like, I put out a pretty pointed tweet about people who are, and everyone will know one. If you're on Twitter at all, you'll know that one guy that you always see going, oh, fucking Destiny, this is shit again. The new content's shit again. I'm going to uninstall. But they always manage to still play the new content the second it comes out, despite threatening every fucking week that they're going to uninstall the game.
Because community. It's because your friends are playing the game. That's why Destiny does so well. Is because, it's that FOMO. I always say Destiny has this fear of missing out, and that's why you continue to buy all the DLCs and stuff like that, because you're like, oh no, I won't pre-order, I won't buy it. But then I know that my friends are going to be playing it, so I'm going to have to play it anyway, and I'm going to buy it, so I may as well buy it.
Yeah, that's it. And I think a lot of people get, like, no doubt there are people out there right now, and especially with stuff like this, that are rightly pissed off. And I'm absolutely not saying that if something comes into the game that you are not happy with, that you have to just pretend to be happy with it, because that's not the case at all. But there's this huge kind of pile-on mentality of, like, everything's shit and fuck the devs and all of this sort of stuff that is, I don't know. I'm not sure whether it's getting louder, whether it's always been there, but it just feels like it's kind of spiraling. And this was something that came along that, a fair chunk of the community has every right to be pissed off about, but turned into one of those things that blew up bigger than fucking Ben-Hur, because you've already got all these people sort of sitting there waiting in the wings for just something to shit on. And I'm just like, well, look, man, if it makes you that unhappy, just seriously fuck off. For the sake of your own mental health and for the sake of everyone else, just fuck off. No one's going to miss you. I can assure you that Damage isn't sitting there going, oh, fucking Booty Slayer 386 has threatened to uninstall if we don't fix this. If Worldline changes, fuck, we better undo it, guys. Like, they don't give a shit. They're doing that. They're changing entire mechanics for weapons. They're trying to get a weapon type that is completely nearly ignored, with the exception of Worldline, and bring it back into some kind of prevalence. And I can understand that. And if this is the consequence of it, for me, it doesn't make a huge difference, but I understand why people are pissed off if it does. The end.
I think when it comes to any community, anything, like, you've got all these subsections and people just want to be acknowledged and I think like what Tamsin said before, is I think not acknowledging something that's probably a main mechanic of speedrunning, I think would have gone a really long way if they just said, we know, even if they just said one line, we know this will affect speedruns, but we feel like we still need to make this change. That changes the narrative completely from, and potentially dampens some of that outrage. Because I've been there with Law. Like, D2 got rid of Grimoire cards. Like, what the fuck? Got rid of the fucking, we're only going to have scannables now. I was like, well, fucking that channel's over. See you later, Marlin Games. Like, fuck, I wish I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. Shit.
Wish Tarkov came out earlier.
Oh, fuck yeah. Probably Tarkov. And, it was that was Law was a really small community, but now it's a big community, and it's quite well known, and people really love diving into it. And there's all these little sort of micro communities in Destiny, and I think community managers have a really hard job at trying to put different hats on and think about how this community is going to feel about this change, because at the end of the day, they're making decisions to impact the greatest number of people and increase the greatest amount of enjoyment for Destiny. But as community managers, their job is also to put on all those micro hats and try to mitigate any outrage and explain decisions to all those microcosms in Destiny.
It can't be easy, especially when you look at the way people approach everything like this. And it's like Bungie has a clear overarching perspective, and they look at everyone holistically, right? They look at everyone who plays the game and they say, this is bang for our buck, worth doing. And then you got people in one facet that are like heavily negatively impacted by it. And for them, it's like, why the fuck would you do this? But it's kind of like if they took that approach to everything, nothing would ever change. It would be completely broken all of the time, because the status quo would always have to be maintained completely. Yeah. So it sucks, and don't get me wrong, if you're upset about it, you've got every right in the world to be, but I don't know. Look, the other thing, the funny thing about this is that I saw a lot of people yesterday saying, fuck this, I'll never play my Warlock again. And literally 24 hours later, there's the fucking Dongblade bug from fucking hell, where really all you've got to do is crack your Dongblade and then go in and switch your primary weapon, and you've got fucking infinite Dongblades. So,
What if they did this on purpose just to distract us?
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm probably going to trigger maybe 33.3% of everyone by saying this, but I think Warlocks just probably need to go. I think they just need to be disabled.
That is not a solution.
Yeah, it is. 100% is. Look,
don't play the character. Easy.
If there was no Warlocks, no one would have been world line skating. We wouldn't have had this drama. We wouldn't have had the fucking infinite dog. I'm kidding. I kind of like Warlocks.
So we're just going to sit there and eat crayons.
Well, the thing is, we already know. We've pretty much already got rid of all of our Warlock listeners anyway, because no one's still around.
Hey, I'm a Warlock main, and I'm stuck with these guys.
Well, maybe not.
No, I mean, I'll say it to trigger people. It's fun. I'm only joking. I don't want anyone to not play Destiny. That's really the long and short of it.
I'm a little bit upset. Remember, so at the Sydney event, I don't know if anyone saw, we did that vidoc thing, right? You know how they did all the interviews? There's actually a part that didn't get into the videos, and we all got to shit talk each other and our character choice. It was really, really good.
Yeah, I think that would have probably put that whole event in a different light. If that,
I thought that was such a good thing too.
I think it was like an ice-breaking thing. Like they went in and just sort of went, "Hey, can you?" Because it was like basically I did the two lines that are actually in the vidoc, and then spent probably 10 minutes just talking shit about Matt. So that was basically it. But I don't know, it was cool. But yeah. So yeah, it sucks. There, Femi's in the chat, so we can talk about this. We'll open up the chat in a minute, and once we get through Matt's lore. Matt, do you want to talk about some lore?
Well, Femi's pretty late to the party, but that's not really new to him, really, is it?
I thought he was going to be here, like first person, hanging out, ready to talk about all these sword changes. But
he's never first, mate. Long.
Withering.
Got him.
Withering. Well, what's coming on the lore front? What's coming?
Okay, I have to admit, I am running out of topics, so I'm very glad that Bungie put out that sneak peek narrative. I guess I have no idea what it's about. I need to read this one called Joining. Didn't know, probably because I haven't been.
Where are these said narratives?
On Bungie webpage.
On Bungie. So they released it at the time. It basically covers.
I figured it was there somewhere, but I'm not aware of Bungie.
Yeah,
it's on the internet.
It's on the. Have you heard of the internet?
How do I do this?
So look, I'll get on to reading that. It'll probably be next time. But usually, what happens with narratives, they don't just release one. So they usually release them.
No, this one came out with the reset that enabled basically fighting Inatem. So that's what it covers. It covers who and what Inatem is.
Well, do you know what it is about? You tell us.
Well,
What's
it's
it about?
basically about the three sister scions that are merging psychically with the fourth sort of like lesser good one to make Inatam the big hard boss that we fight at the end of the Sundial. That's
What's
Log's.
their goal? Is that anything
Well,
else?
because she's there to defend their ability to interfere with the timeline. So she's basically their weapon of
See?
last resort.
Lore
What?
videos are hard.
Dude, I don't know any law.
You feel kind of bad for them because they're just trying to read the time, right?
Just
you,
smashed.
You need. Do you have children? Because you've got
No.
plenty of dad jokes.
That was funny. That
okay,
was funny
so-
today when I was just as a brief aside talking about kids. That I asked Matt, I'm like, dude, how are you not like knackered all the time with all this shit you're juggling? He's like, I don't have kids, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to put mine on eBay. I won't. I'm kidding.
Got 'em.
Anyway,
So, look, I am sort of running out of topics. I'm excited there might be some new stuff on the way, or at least I can read that and work out what's going on with that piece of lore. But I'm still working my way through some of the Phoenix and the Pigeon, which is Osiris and Same 14 lore book. And there's a really interesting part in that book where Osiris essentially lectures a ghost, so much so that the ghost doesn't revive their guardian and goes to revive someone else. And it's a little bit contentious in the lore community from what I've seen on Reddit, because people don't like the idea that a ghost can decide to choose another guardian. So the video is about sort of discussing that topic. Like, can ghosts go and choose another guardian? Or are they bound to a single guardian forever? And there's lots of, I think people initially think that the answer is simple because of Shin Malphur's story, where there was a transfer or a suspected transfer of Jaren Ward's ghost to Shin Malphur, but that also had a bunch of but this happened in shit, like very specific things that happened in Shin Malphur. Like, for example, he was already revived as a guardian and already had a ghost as a child, and that ghost died, and he already was inherently empowered with the light. And then this other ghost came along and sort of filled that spot. So you might claim that he's not really technically a ghost transfer sort of thing. And so, yeah, the artwork's really cool because the scene, Osiris chops this warlock in this warlord in half. So I said to Gamma Trap, like, basically draw Osiris just cleaving a warlord into two halves. So he's got this guy just being chopped, and then he basically snatches the ghost out of the air and says to the ghost, like, you better rethink your path, bud. And the ghost goes back to the traveler to do a reset. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, there's two sides to the story. There's actually a lore entry that I found that heavily contradicts that ghosts can't do that. It basically says that ghosts only have one true partner, one true guardian, and that's it. And so it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum. So it's going to be sort of up to people to sort of work out what they want to accept. I sort of came to the conclusion of somewhere in between, and I sort of went down the idea of like the revival process, and that when we had the golden age, some humans or many humans were imbued with the light. That's how we lived longer. And like Jacob Hardy lived to like some ridiculous age, and he wasn't a guardian, but he just lived really long. And so there was an impact of the traveler's light like on humanity. And then obviously the traveler went into a slumber and created ghosts. So sort of my speculation is the link between a future guardian and their ghost is their light, and they're somehow part of the same thing, like the same frequency of light. So like ghosts they just know when they find their guardian, they've got this same light connection. And that's because we were empowered with the light during the golden age, and they just know that that's their guardian, and that's what makes it their destiny. But at the same time, you could also transfer a ghost to someone else. They're not necessarily their perfect match, but it's a bit like it still works. We can still make it work, but it might not be perfect.
I think it's interesting because I mean, there's a lot of when you take into account like something like pulled pork reviving Uldren and that, like it's a lot easier to cop if it's like, well, a ghost is sort of like fated to one person or guardian or whatever. So you go, okay, well, that's sort of like there's something overarching at play that we don't yet understand. But if it's sort of like, well, you know, Osiris can grab a ghost out of the air and go like, pull your fucking head in, mate. This guy's a dickhead. Go find someone else. And off goes the ghost. Oh, I'll go, shit, I better go home to the traveller and figure my fucking priorities out. It kind of, I can understand why that bothers people. But I also think that, like, you got to factor in that Osiris as a dude is a pretty exceptional dude, right? Like, he's not just, you know, he's not bullying a ghost. There's something very, very special about him as a person too.
There's when he like grabs a ghost and he gets and Sagira actually the ghost starts freaking out because we know that ghosts can be destroyed and they sort of need to hide themselves during the revival process so they don't get destroyed by other enemies. So the fact that he just knows he can kill a warlord, the ghost is going to materialize and he like snatches it out of midair and it can't get away. And then he gets like Sagira like links with the ghost a little bit how like ghosts link to doors and they like open doors and shit for you. She basically links with this ghost almost like mind reading it, and she tells Osiris why this ghost chose a guardian, and it sort of fills in some of those gaps we were trying to work about how ghosts choose guardians. And it was like this ghost said that he needed a strong warrior. It just turned out that he revived a warlord, and the ghosts also make mistakes. There's this whole other lore aspect that ghosts don't really understand the revival process. They just know that that's their guardian. And there's aspects of like personality that know that this guardian will complement them and improve them and create a warrior to, you know, to help defend humanity. But sometimes it goes the wrong way, like Dredgen Yor or a warlord or stuff like that. So I think it's good. I think it's gonna be a good topic. I think people enjoy it. So
I think it sets up for a much more interesting sort of universe if ghosts are just as fallible as the people that they res, right?
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the main takeaways is like we know ghosts make mistakes. Like Dredgen Yor was a guardian, and his ghost was trying to correct. You know, that ghost potentially made the a pretty badass guardian that ended up killing a lot of people, and was still trying to correct his path. But other ghosts don't really care. Like they sort of go with the flow. Like they do have their own personalities. They're like, follow this warlord. Yeah, sure. Let's be a warlord now.
Fair enough.
So there you go.
Good. All right. Well, what we might do now is open up the chat. So if you're rocking on and you've got something that you would like to throw up for us to discuss, by all means, punch it into the chat now. There you go. Look, there's a little window. I'm not sure why everyone's purple in there. I just think it's a fluke, but good. But yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, it's been a kind of contentious week, honestly, with everything that's happened, and I think everyone's emotions are a little bit high. And we haven't had a week like this because it's sort of like it's tied in with the, you know, everyone's expectation of the Empyrean Foundation and the news of, you know, it being tied in with trials. And there's this sort of like this positive expectation that's tempered with people are starting to shit themselves about, well, what does trials come back in, you know, what does it look like if it comes back in 2020? Is it a fucking mess or what? And then you couple that with a bit of bad news. It was a little bit of a perfect storm yesterday. So,
hey, how do you think Trials is going to impact the Twitch directory? Is this going to be a resurgence are we going to see Destiny fucking killing it again?
I hope so.
I think
Twitch.
I hope so. And then like I always most of the streams I watched back in that era were like the labs. Like in Buttwipe or whatever that were doing trials carries because it was pretty short form. Like I've never been super into the raids and all that sort of stuff. So
I think
for the directory, I think it'd be fucking great. I think it would be great on all the streaming platforms. But
I think the PvP community is going to dominate. The PvE community might have a bit of a might lose a little bit of viewers. Your average might drop a little bit. But because there's been streamers like you know, all the Primal Boys and stuff like that who have kept up with the PvP content and managed to do quite well. I think their streams are just going to keep going and they're just going to blow up sort of thing. You know, from Twitch partnership perspective, that's also going to be interesting because it might resurge server streamers and stuff like that. But it'll be interesting. It'll be good. It'll be interesting to see what the PvE community does, like whether the Sherpas for the raids and stuff like that. Try and do a bit more trials. Like me personally, I probably will even do some trials, but I won't be doing carries because I can't carry people. But I'll probably do more PvP content compared to what I usually do. Like even now I am.
I almost think that Twitch viewership is in a, I don't know, more mature. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's in a different stage than when it was when trials first came out.
Yeah.
And I think I think service sort of streams will come back, but I actually think that trials in itself, depending on how they return it and what the rules are on it, I actually think is really, really good entertainment. And I don't think you have to be the best. I think if you are the best, it makes it even better. But I think for something like Twitch, where you can have a match and everyone knows, like, right, they got to get this win, or this is the last one they need, or they need, this is, you know, they're on a streak, or like, I just think that it is very engaging content.
Yes.
Something that's probably been missing from Destiny, with the exception of raids, which are which is a really long form content and only really new when they come out. Whereas when you do a trials match, every match is a new story, is a new narrative, and is a new potential opportunity to engage the audience. And I think it'll probably perform really well coming up, and not just service streams. I think people will enjoy watching it and seeing new metas and new ways of using guns and new ways of using perks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all of that stuff has kind of become less important over time, right? Like, I mean, we're always going to have metas and stuff like that, but I don't know. There's something about the way that competitive works, like, so the survival playlists and stuff work, that it doesn't ever seem like the stakes are equivalent to what they were back in trials. And I think that was what the drama was about. Because getting to the lighthouse, no losses, right? Or you had your one that you could be forgiven for or whatever. But, you know, you need that perfect card. So I just think that there's an element of drama that has just been missing from that. And that's why, like, it's kind of like something, it's cool if you're like me and you want to get in and, you know, improve your skills and you know, do that way. But for the top end of town, like the really skilled players, I don't understand why you would do that and be perpetually butting your head against the thing, against sort of people of your own skill, because of the skill-based matchmaking, firstly. So you're always going to have to try your ass out, which that's another thing that we're going to have to discuss if and when trials comes back, which it looks like is a when, whether or not, like, would you guys, I'll just say, I hope that it doesn't have any kind of skill-based matchmaking in it. I hope that we go back to the model that we had in D1, where it was based on where you were in your card preferentially, and beyond that, it was just connection-based. Because I think that if it gets to skill-based matchmaking and it operates like comp does now, it'll nearly be dead in the water, because it'll be so sweaty for the top end, and, like, you know, for me, it'll be sort of average. You know, like I don't think it would offer as much.
I think my and, you know, because I've been playing a lot of Tarkov, and Tarkov doesn't have that kind of matchmaking. And the appeal with something like that kind of matchmaking is sometimes you're going to come across a player that's going to fucking stomp you, and sometimes you're stomping other players. And I think that's entertaining. I think you watch a match, you're like, hell yeah, you just like kick those guys' asses, and then you like go get stomped. Like, that's a story. Now you've got a redemption story happening. Now you got to get the win back, or now you got to, you know, if you've got any boons or whatever introduced, like you've had one freebie lost now you have to really win everything. So I think the randomness of opponents adds to a story for viewership. And I agree. I think when you have skill-based matchmaking and you know every game's going to be fucking sweaty, I don't know how good that is to watch. And then you have people getting really frustrated and their entertainment value goes down as well.
The other thing I'm interested about next season is, obviously, assuming that Trials comes out, we're probably going to get a big PvP sandbox update, right? And I guess maybe this is the right time for them to release that. But the PvE side of it, are we going to get an equivalent? Like, is factions going to come back, and we're going to have a rally, which is an equivalent to, I don't know, something like Imperium Foundation with donating or doing bounties or something? But I'm a little bit worried about what we're going to get next season, because now it seems to be a big focus on PvP, and I don't think they're going to have that 100% focus on PvP. But what else are we going to be getting?
I kind of what? You go. Sorry, Tams.
I was just going to say, it's really probably bad because I play a lot of PvE, but I honestly don't care, because it's their time, and I've had enough of watching the PvP community get more and more upset over Twitter. Like, I feel like majority of the Twitter drama over the past year or two has stemmed from the PvP community, and not because they're bad people, it's because they're just frustrated sort of thing. And I will happily sacrifice 3 months of my PvE content because I've had 2 years of amazing content, you know, like I can sacrifice 3 months to let them have their time, you know. They are a massive part of the community, and I mean, I'm going to enjoy playing some PvP, like take the opportunity to play PvP and enjoy a different part of the game, and maybe get a different community because you're playing PvP versus PvE sort of thing. Like, I don't think the PvE community should be crying at all, but that's just my personal opinion.
I'm with you. Like, I agree that, like, if for the sake of one season, if we have one season where it's, you know, the season of the revitalizing the Crucible and giving it the kick in the ass that it desperately needs and desperately has needed for a year, more, 18 months, I think, you know, like that's when you look at it from the perspective of a PvP player, every season in the past has been the season of the PvE.
Since Destiny 2 started.
So it's just, and it's been dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And you're right in saying that, you know, there's people out there that love this game and just want more to do in the part of the game that they really enjoy. And I hate that fucking argument when people come in, oh, Destiny 2 is a PvE game and fucking no one should care about PvP and all this. And I'm just like, if that's your attitude, you're mugging yourself of half of the game to start with. But
absolutely.
I mean, of late, it has been a PvE game, and for the people who are the diehard PvP community, that sucks. So, in that vein, I would be totally happy if there was no new PvE content. But I also think that would suck because some of the best stuff they've done of late is narrative-driven PvE content. So I don't know how you drive a narrative through PvP. It would be incredibly interesting to watch.
Shax fucking takes off his helmet and everyone loses their mind.
But like how do you
story ever?
Yeah, but you can't do a story mission in PvP because you just get, you know, like there's no way that they can develop a story.
Do like the Twilight Gap missions where we went to a Crucible map and they told the backstory of them.
Yeah, but that's not a PvP, Matt. That's just going to a place.
But they could tell the story of a Crucible map.
Isn't Osiris kind of tied into this season's? Because that's what I thought. They were talking about tying like the seasons into each other, and that's why I thought Trials was coming next, because they've had this whole Osiris, and I was like, that's their like lead in, their segue to the next, you know.
Yeah, I kind of think so. But me and Matt talked about this. Was it last week we were talking about this, where it was like, oh yeah, Trials of Osiris, he'll be about that. But Osiris never had anything to do with Trials of Osiris because he was gone and it was just created by the fanboys who were left behind trying to worship him. So I don't know, maybe he picks it up. I kind of think that we're going to see something more along the lines of Saint becoming the vendor for it. I don't think it's going to be Osiris himself.
I don't understand law, so I don't know if that's possible.
I think that, like, I don't know. I just can't see it being Osiris for some reason. I don't think it's going to be even called Trials of Osiris. I think it'll be Trials of something else.
Can it be Trials of Saint 14? Is that a possibility in the law world?
Oh yeah, of course. It can be anything because we had Trials of the Nine. But they've never explained that the whole point of the Trials is that the closest we got was when it was made. Sorry.
Billy.
My dog's gone crazy.
Billy.
Daddy's gone home. Billy. Was the initial thought around Trials of Osiris was he was time traveling and basically a way to work out who he should take as time traveler guardians was people who had a predestined fate. And the way that you worked that out was that they would never lose. So you put them through 9 matches. Was it 9 or 7? You put them through, if they won every match, they proved that it was their destiny to go to the lighthouse because you had to be better than just good player. You had to be fated to be there.
Yep.
So that was sort of the original law around Trials of Osiris. He didn't want, there's a really cool quote, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's something like, it wasn't just, I needed to find guardians that were like fated or that had
it wasn't enough to be good. It was, you had to have luck and fortune and everything on your side as well.
Yeah, so, it was all those aspects around it. So, and then Trials of 9 came out and they never really, they had the unknown space that went to, and we got lore as we went to everything. And I played it through once to record all the things that the vendors,
the emissary said, and all of that.
The emissary said to you. I've got a document still that has
Nice horse.
tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 recordings of me sitting in front of them and just I had transcribed everything she said at each fucking stage and whatever, and I'd never made a video on it because I couldn't fucking work out what it was about.
Yeah, for mine, I reckon that was a sort of narrative that they planned on being a long haul narrative of part of the game that, you know, would have been around, and then they ended up disabling it because it was just, you know, they took it away because it needed so much work. So it's probably I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's going to come back and have anything to do with the 9. The way it is right now, it doesn't seem that way. So I think that may well be just some sort of storyline they're going to try and repurpose into something else, or it's just DOA at this point, which is unfortunate.
That definitely looked like he got nipped. But the good thing is that they didn't really commit to anything either because it was so fucking vague. So it's sort of like, and they released a whole bunch of lore about the 9, so we sort of understand them now too. So it's that whole Trials of the 9. I mean, people just forget about it, really.
Yeah.
Do you think we'd get something like, if it's going to be a PvP focus, if they brought something like bots in, like Matt was saying about the Twilight Gap stuff, you could probably repurpose a lot of those maps to train players on choke points and lanes and stuff with those maps with just NPCs. That could be something.
How fucking cool would that be? I reckon that's
just
really
red jacks.
Cool.
They're the same size as a person. If they could animate red jacks and you could fight red jacks to train, I reckon it would be widely received, because like a lot of the complaints about Crucible from people who don't want to spend time in the Crucible is just, for mine, when I read people talking about it, is that they're intimidated by it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like skill-based matchmaking is great to an extent, because if you're going in there and it's your first time ever playing it, you'll like as not get put into a game that's relatively friendly by comparison to some of the stuff that does go on. But I think anything we can do to lower that barrier, and I think what's happened with competitive sort of over the last 2 seasons has been relatively important as well, because of the skill-based matchmaking entering that. People have gone in, and there's people like myself that, like, I would have had fucking Buckleys of getting all the way through to 5,500 under the connection-based matchmaking system, but I've done it, and I feel like I mean, statistically as a player, I've improved through the course of that. So I think it's all about giving people the means to better themselves, and that would be a big one. That is like that's the baby step into like entering the Crucible, right? To be able to go, well, these are the maps. Familiarize yourself, shoot some NPCs, and you know. Get used,
that's why we've got
ready.
Private matches too, but I guess it's a bit different.
Well, you need the people to put in a private match.
You need the
and
people,
if you're new to the game, you don't have it. So,
and it doesn't work towards bounties or anything, or triumphs or anything like that, which could be the carrot on the stick they need.
True.
Look, this is. I've just thought of this, and I'm sure they're going to do this right. This is a narrative, right? They do a flashback. They do a Twilight Gap. They do a flashback. We're fighting the Fallen. We're sitting on the walls. We're seeing all the artillery go off. All the Guardians go down. We collect their armor. Boom. We made Galahorn. We made the original G Horn through time travel with Osiris in the Infinite Forest. Bam, done.
And Shax takes off his helmet.
And then Shax takes his helmet off. We see his helmet.
I did not expect that. That is insane.
Guitar riffs.
We gifted ourselves Galahorn from the past, from the future, from the past.
And that was the weapon we buried ourselves with.
Yeah, I mean that's always going to be the part of Bastion that I don't understand. Like, I fucking hate fusion rifles. I mean, unless it was like some kind of ironic piss take and Saint 14 has a fucking really warped sense of humor. Like, I buried you with this gun. You hate it.
Hey, do you think all these changes to swords is going to introduce a sword, the one that was on our grave in the timey-wimey stuff?
Maybe. I think it would be very timely for them to reintroduce some swords of renown if they're going to do a rejig of swords, right?
Exactly.
So we might see Ray's Lighter and Dark Drinker and all of that come back. I would like that, because like, honestly, I've got swords that I hang on to. Like, the Titan ones are fucking badass. Like Crown Splitter and Throne Cleaver are the 2 most badass named fucking bits of kit in the game, and they're useless because they're swords. So I'm looking forward to be able to use those. But it would be good if they could tie it in with some exotics that sort of added a bit of hype.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Big time.
All right. Well, I think we might have talked ourselves to a standstill. If anyone's got any super urgent questions, I'll give you fucking 30 seconds.
At me.
I think there are a few that went through chat a little bit before.
All right. We'll scroll up.
Are we heading straight over to Tamsin's stream? Is that the plan still?
Are you going live?
I plan to. Yep. I just need to pee.
Well, do we have the ability, because you're gonna need your camera for OBS? Do we have the ability to shut your camera off and set up your OBS, and then we can
just
do it quick. We'll just hold on on the final screen before we raid in and make sure that Tamsin comes up. So we can do that.
Okay.
It won't be an issue. It's all good. But I'm just quickly going back and looking through what previous questions. There's not a lot in there.
And we did talk about
fuck, Mary, kill, same 14, Shax, Cade, go. That was a question. Okay.
What was it? Who was it?
Same 14, Shax, Cade.
Cade's already dead, so he's killed because that's redundant. And you'd have to fuck Shax because he's just a unit, and marry Saint because he's so wholesome. So that's easy. That's way too easy.
Cade's already happened as well. He's already killed.
Yeah.
All right. What if I said human Cade returned, or let's just say before Cade?
I thought Cade would be a fun time. That's what I was going with. But if he's dead, I don't know what to say that now.
Yeah, we've already covered up that you can't dig up dead people for Valentine's Day, so we're just gonna leave that the fuck alone. Sorry. All right, Aura. Log, thoughts on having to do all of Saint's quests before you could even start the Foundation? I wasn't happy about it. I didn't realize that I hadn't finished them all off because I'm hopelessly slack at doing quests. So it annoyed me.
Off a little bit.
The tribute to the colonies, I thought, like, it kind of didn't reward you with anything at the end. It was just kind of like this added extra to finishing it all off. So yeah, it annoyed me. It was like a 20-minute delay before I could get into the meat and bones of the new stuff. So a little bit frustrating. But I guess that it harks back to like what Anna was talking about earlier with the way they manage quests, and especially for new players, in that, you know, like if they don't convey the importance of something in a game like Destiny, where you can have so much shit on the boil all at the one time, it gets lost. And that's really all that happened with that, is that it just sort of became a passive background thing that I was sort of doing without thinking about it, and that's it. So sorry?
I was going to say, and are they really important if we can't go back and replay them as well?
Yeah, true. That's another
thing. That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a conversation for another day.
One random thought just popped into my head. What is your opinion on, so with the Crimson doubles coming up, they actually posted, known issues. What's your opinion on like them letting us know these known issues? Like if they're issues, I guess there's a conversation around if they're issues, why aren't they fixed, sort of thing.
I think.
Well, they've obviously realised they're not going to get it time-wise.
Yeah,
and it's
known shippables.
Because I've seen a lot of people in the past be quite distressed about that sort of stuff. Like it's good that we know, I guess. Prior.
Yeah, I think transparency trumps nearly everything else.
Yeah, agreed.
If they obviously know about it, and they obviously predicted that they're not going to solve it before something X or Y comes out. So I think transparency beats that.
And I think
which is one thing they struggle.
Honestly, but they have improved in recent times, sort of over the last year and a bit. They have improved on that front, and I think that's partly why we ended up in the situation we were yesterday, where the world line changes were poorly communicated, and it ended up in a dumpster fire because people have sort of started to expect a little bit better on that front. So
they're quite good at communication and transparency. I agree.
Yeah.
Every game pretty much ships with bugs that they can't really fix just yet anyway.
All right, well, what we're going to do, we're going to go to our hold screen and wrap up, but we will be raiding into Tamsin within sort of the next 5 minutes after she goes and does nature's work. Right? We're going to answer the call of fucking nature. I didn't foresee myself ending the fucking podcast talking about going for a piss.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. It's better than...
And before we do that, where can we find... Anamana. Anamana. Tell us where we can find you, mate.
My URL everywhere is Anamana AU. So
you might want to spell that.
AMAMA. I can't.
Got him.
ANAMANA.
We'll put links. links.
There is a link in the chat right now. If you,
there's a link in the chat.
Yeah. If you want to catch Anna on Twitch, probably later tonight, I imagine he'll be around. So jump in and say good day. But Tamsin will be live immediately after this. So rock and roll. All right. Well, we're going to jump into some closeout. Matt, can you please tell us where the law will find us?
Oh, the law will find you doing nature's work. There you go.
All right, but you've been warned. You've been warned, Tamsin, right? All right, we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.